KMSU.
Dustin, please.
This is Dustin.
Hey, Dustin, it's Kurdt Vanderhoof.
Kurdt, how you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I am excellent. It's great to have you on.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be had.
Excellent. I will introduce you to my co-host, Ton.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going? Is this tongue?
Ton, like 2,000 pounds.
Like, yes, okay, ton of bricks.
Like a ton of
There
bricks.
you go, like a ton of bricks.
Okay, I thought you said tongue, and I'm like, well, that's different.
Well, it depends on who we're interviewing. It could be tongue, you know what I'm saying?
You do your heavy metal stripper chick thing.
Yes, exactly. So if you're if you're ready to go, we'll get started here.
Let's go.
All right. Well, I guess a place to start. You've been in Metal Church, huge band at one point in time. Can you tell us about how you first started playing guitar, getting into music?
Pretty much started with the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and then I was a drummer for about 7 years after that, until I was about 11 or 12, and then switched over to bass for about 3 years, and then switched to guitar. And then, it's been pretty much that ever since. I've never stopped, and it's been pretty much everything from, I've listened to everything from that period of time up till about, 90s when alternative started ruining everything. So then I went back to the early 70s.
So then can you talk to us a bit about, I guess, some of those early days and how you ended up like forming Metal Church and how you got to that point?
Yeah, I was in a band in Seattle, late 70s called The Lude, which was first generation punk rock. And we kind of we put out a single and did as much as we could in the Seattle area. And then we relocated to San Francisco and played there for a little over a year, and I started getting a little bit creatively and musically bored, only because I knew there was a very limited amount of success that could happen in that genre. And as that was going on, I started getting wind of the new wave of British heavy metal started creeping in, and I was like, ooh, this is cool, because it had all the elements of punk that I liked, which was what initially drew me to punk rock, which was the energy and the angst and all that kind of stuff, as a teenager that you love, but yet musicality and people that could play well, and all those, and a lot of showmanship, and it had the whole deal. So that was the beginning of that, and I was in San Francisco at the time and was trying to put left the Lude and was trying to put Metal Church together down there for about a year. Nothing ever really happened, so.
Well, you guys really were kind of one of the heavy hitters in those early years of thrash metal, kind of getting that genre started. Can you kind of tell us about those early years, what that was like getting that going?
Oh, it was really exciting because you really felt you were a part of something. I mean, there was something going on, and, with the whole tape trading thing, it was definitely a worldwide community. And it was something that was very much ours. You know how it is, like when, you have a band that you just love and you really dig them, and then they get really, really huge, and then you don't like them anymore. Because like Kiss, Kiss was great until they got really, really popular, and then they were stupid. So, and so it was that whole kind of thing, except it was our music. We had something to say. There was almost even a uniform, the ripped jeans and the white high tops and the leather jackets and the rock shirt, and that said something about what you were into. And the music was great. It was full of energy, and everybody was trying to be creative, and it was just a really cool time and a really cool thing to be involved in. And and it kind of still maintains that now. That's one of the things that that didn't, Metallica and a lot of the bands got really popular and stuff, but it still maintains the same core, somewhat of a belief system to me, somewhat of a kind of a just it's a way of life and it's a way of thinking, and so that kind of maintains even to this day, I think, to a certain degree. So at the beginning of it, you knew you were a part of something.
Definitely. And you mentioned Metallica and some of those other early thrash metal bands. I know you toured with some of them. What was your relationship with the other bands? Was it all camaraderie back then?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Lars was going to, when I first left the Lude and I was living in San Francisco and I was putting Metal Church together, Lars had come over from Denmark, and he came over to hang out with some friends or something in San Francisco, and we met and partied, and we were talking about having him be the first drummer for Metal Church. We never actually played together, so he wasn't part of that, but he had to move to Los Angeles to live with his dad, and that's where he met James, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So but yeah, we were part of that whole thing too. So it was Yeah, it was definitely camaraderie. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, because we were all, going for the same cause, so to speak. So, and it still is. I mean, we don't see each other anymore or anything like that, but, it's definitely, we're all cut from the same cloth, basically.
Right. Well, the 80s metal scene is probably the favorite of Ton and myself. So whenever we have somebody who is in the thick of things, we always ask them if they have a favorite road story from that time.
Oh, God. The ones I can remember.
Yeah.
Because all of that stuff, you did when you're in your early 20s and your band is succeeding and you're immortal because you're in your 20s. Right? So there's a lot of stuff that you do. Oh man, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, driving way out of our way, on tour just to get coke. So stupid things like that I can't even imagine even thinking about doing now. Just the partying all the time because you could, and just, you're playing rock star. So there's just, endless amounts of stories, waking up in hotel rooms and going to the bathroom and then going back to bed and waking up the next day and realizing that wasn't the bathroom, that was your suitcase, just wonderful, lovely stories. And then having no time to do anything about it, having to pack it and get on the bus, So, I mean, that's always really nice. But, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But that only lasts so long, and then, as that starts taking its toll on you, then things have to change, and that has a lot to do with why bands members change, because some people don't ever stop doing that and behaving like that, and then that starts, putting a lot of strain on the band and the lineup.
So is that part of the reason, kind of, why you got out of Metal Church after the Dark album came out?
Well, kind of. That was part of it. On one side of it, definitely, there was a lot of drinking and drugs and stuff like that going on that I kind of reached my limit with and really didn't want any part of anymore. But and some people, it started getting some adverse effects on them, and working with them became virtually impossible. And coupled with that was, after doing the Dark, was a real eye-opening experience for me, working with an actual producer with an actual budget, and learning how to make records from that. Because we did the first record on our own. We just went in the studio and played it live, basically, and went, okay, that sounds good, there's a record. We really didn't know what we were doing, and the charm of that is that it kind of shows in the record. It doesn't sound very good sonically, but there's a lot of energy on it. So when we went in to do the Dark, after we had gotten signed, we were working with a producer. We had a budget, so we had months and months and months to work on the record, which is good and bad. But that whole process opened my eyes to how much I really love the creative process in the studio. So, coupled with the fact that we weren't getting along in some aspects, I wanted to spend my time, rather than spend my time living on a tour bus, I wanted to spend my time learning how to make records. So I kind of went, okay, guys, you can take it out here. You can take it from here. This is where I'm going. This is my path. So that's when I left. But still stayed involved in the songwriting and production aspects.
Yeah, it seemed like you stayed pretty involved with the band. And you did most of the writing still, is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, how was that? Did that change the dynamic hugely, or did that help, did you think? Or
Well, the writing process, I mean, the dynamics of the band changed dramatically after we started succeeding, which is one of those kind of sad stories where, suddenly there was too many cooks, and suddenly everybody thought they could do anything and everything, and nobody was necessary, and those kinds of egos and things got involved, including mine. And but at the same time, I think the songs still came, as they would have, and because that was our initial writing setup. And so I would do all the demos. They would be out on the road, doing their thing, and they'd come back, and I'd have, new albums written and things like that. And then, then there was some more collaboration going on too after that point. But for the most part, that's how we worked.
So then the the high turnover in that band really maybe didn't faze you as much as it would other bands because you were kind of at the helm of that stuff.
Me personally, no. It was just kind of something that, because I was in a different place. But that is the lineup changes definitely had, almost everything to do with the success and the decline of our popularity, which I completely understand. I mean, there's bands that get established with a certain sound, a certain lineup. You start changing that around, people lose interest, and the sound changes and the things change. So, but sadly, we were just one of those bands where, the lineup just kept changing for whatever reason. We have the tumultuous history, so to speak. So, but I think the one common thread is that I did a lot of the writing, so So for the most part, there was somewhat of a consistency in there. I mean, not as much as obviously would have been necessary. But yeah, that definitely changed the dynamic.
Well, then you obviously went on and released, several solo albums, and you mentioned doing the prog rock thing. Was that much different then than Metal Church, considering you were kind of doing the same system?
Oh, you mean with like the Vanderhoof stuff? Was it
right.
The same as Metal Church? No, that was kind of a band, but it didn't stay together long enough to actually run into any of the lineup changes other than the singer. I mean, it was just, as you get older, it's really hard to find, unless you're making really big bucks. It's, everybody has to have a job and stuff, so it's really hard to find people that can go out on the road and do what it takes to be in an all-original act, unless you're making a lot of money to support them. So, I was in a unique position to be able to go do that, and the people that I was able to work with weren't, so that had a lot of trouble with keeping that together. The Presto thing, which is the passion project, is, we've finally seemed to have solidified a lineup, but because of the genre, it's really difficult to stay busy as far as gigs and things like that are concerned. So, it's hard to keep people's interest when the band's not busy. But that fortunately looks like it's starting to change a little bit. But it's a difficult thing to keep it going, especially when, depends on what kind of artists and other musicians you have access to. Really has a lot to do with it as well. So yeah, there's, trying to keep a band together these days is pretty difficult, and it has been for a long time.
Well, and you came back to Metal Church eventually, and I know you guys had the Generation Nothing album that came out last year, so is that full-time now, too, in addition to those other projects?
Oh, yeah, well, Vanderhoof thing morphed into Presto Ballet, so I have Metal Church and Presto Ballet going. And, Metal Church is definitely the priority, and we're quite busy. We just got back from Europe, and we're working on a new record right now, and actually working on 2 records right now. And, so very busy with that, as well as going to be doing a new Presto Ballet album.
So, yeah, it sounds like you're definitely able to keep yourself busy for sure.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the great things about the way the music industry is now. Because we release everything on my label in conjunction with Rat Pack Records. So we have complete freedom and control to do what we want, when we want, how we want. I finally learned to embrace the new music industry. For a long time I was fighting it, kicking and screaming, and there's still a lot of things that bug me about it, but the good thing is that it's direct artist to fans, and the major label filter is gone. So it's, you don't sell big records anymore, but you get to have a career that doesn't necessarily have an expiration date on it. And that's really cool, especially for us older guys who still want to play.
Yeah, I suppose even if you sell half as many records, you probably get the same amount of money since you're not giving that cut to the majors. Yeah,
more. I mean, you'd sell 1 million records on a major label, you'd make as much as you sell 20,000 records now.
Yeah.
And boy, you don't have all the leeches and people, taking this cut and the way the whole music business used to operate. Well, and you also don't have to sit around and beg for a record deal, or and just if you're over 30, over 35, with some idiot in a bean counter in a record company who says he's A&R, who knows nothing about music, oh no, they're too old next, you're just done. He lives, he dies, he lives, that is gone. And all those people that were leeches and Klingons on all of us artists and stuff through all the years, they're out of work, fortunately, as well they should be, and so that's gone. So that's one of the beautiful things about the new music industry. The downside is obviously the piracy and that kind of thing, but you take the good with the bad.
I had kind of a strange question, sort of in the vein of the record companies. In the early 90s, it seemed like your name, in Metal Church was thrown around a lot with Nirvana, since you were both from Aberdeen. Is that something that affected your record sales at all, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it really affected us because, well, for one thing, when the Nirvana thing started happening and the grunge thing, with the Melvins and, because they were from same area too, as well, all that stuff, when that started happening, metal was completely out of favor. And because of and I found out years later that, that little camp of all those guys, thought we were a big joke, especially me. So, the Melvins, even though I was their first lead singer when they were a punk cover band and I thought we were friends, I've read stuff over the years where, us metal guys, and especially me, thought, we were just a big joke to all those guys because they were cool, and they were, they weren't posers and, all this kind of stuff, So, I don't think that helped our record sales at all. But at that time, they became, and then to have somebody like Nirvana, take over the world like they did, and we're sitting here kind of going, oh, how nice. Well, because they used to come out to our rehearsals and stuff. We were all part of the same thing, but, like I said, I found out over the past few years that we were a big joke to all those guys. So, whatever, so I guess they're cooler than we are.
Yeah. Well,
Not really.
There must have been something to it, because I know Kurt Cobain spelled his name with a D in it like yours early on.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was maybe he was paying homage and the rest of the guys were.
Well, yeah, I thought maybe it was like, wow, what a nice little thing. And I found out now he just thought it was funny.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, I'm alive. You're dead. Fuck you.
There you go.
And I'm
That's
sorry.
metal.
That's how I feel about it.
No, that's totally understandable.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I had nothing against those guys, and I've read a lot of stuff about, that Buzz from the Melvins has said about me for no reason. So I guess, at any cost they can be cool, whatever. So
It's a bummer.
yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, wow, God, nothing like being being an immature little brat forever.
Well,
so that's fun.
Yeah, but I mean, you're out there, like you said, you had another Metal Church album in the works, and you're working on the other stuff. Can you kind of go over again where we can find this stuff or find the information about it?
Oh, the usual suspects. I mean, online, all the, the Facebooks and the websites and all that kind of stuff. MetalChurchMusic.com is our regular website. Metal Church at Facebook, all that kind of stuff you can find anywhere. Rat Pack Records handles all our stuff like that. And as far as just getting retail copies, Amazon, any of the online stores, you can get it all there. And obviously it's all available for downloads and everything on iTunes.
And you think that new album will be out this year or maybe early next?
One of them will definitely be out this year.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Well, again, Kurt, it's been great having you on the show. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with? Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, other than just, just to let everybody know how grateful we are for, still, paying attention to what we're doing. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing to have, a career at whatever level, after all these years, to have people still interested in what you're doing and want to hear what you're doing. That's, I've just been in a real state of being very, very grateful, and that's kind of a nice place to be, just really realizing that this is really cool that I get to play music my whole life. So regardless of the grunge guys think I'm cool or not, I still get to play music.
Definitely. Well, again, thanks a lot, Kurt. It's been great.
Excellent. My pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.